Imagine a seed planted in rich soil. It holds the promise of a towering tree, but it begins as something so small it can rest on the tip of your finger. Your dream is that seed. To see it grow, you don't need to start with the forest. You need to start with the soil, the water, and the light. Great achievements begin with a clear, inspiring vision of the future, and that vision always starts in the quiet space of the mind. Before any building is raised, before any invention comes to life, before any movement transforms the world, someone dared to see it first. Vision is not just wishful thinking. It is the mental blueprint that gives purpose to every action and breathes life into an idea. Without a vivid picture of where you want to go, effort scatters in every direction. With it, every step, no matter how small, begins to align toward a single destination. To form a true vision, you must allow yourself to think beyond the limits of what seems practical today. This is not about reckless daydreaming, but about disciplined imagination. Close your eyes and picture your life as you want it to be, not just as circumstances dictate. What do you want to create? Who do you want to become? How will the world look when your contribution is complete? These questions are not merely philosophical, they are the tools that shape a mental map. When you dare to see in detail colors, sounds, emotions, you begin to construct a future that pulls you toward it. A powerful vision serves as a compass during storms. Life is unpredictable. Challenges, setbacks, and unexpected detours are inevitable. Without a clear sense of direction, it is easy to drift or give up. But when you have a vivid mental picture of your desired future, those obstacles become part of the terrain rather than barriers. You understand that a detour is not defeat. It is simply a new path that still points toward the same destination. Vision provides resilience because you are not merely reacting to events. You are responding from a place of purpose. Clarity is critical. A vague wish like, "I want to be successful," lacks the strength to motivate. What does success look like for you? Describe it. Is it a thriving business, a healthier body, a strong family, a creative masterpiece, a life of service? Write it down, refine it, make it so specific that if someone else read your description, they could almost see it themselves. This level of detail transforms a hazy desire into something you can plan for and measure. Yet vision is more than a mental movie. It is an emotional force. The best visions are charged with feeling, excitement, pride, even a sense of urgency. That emotional energy fuels persistence when the work is tedious or the progress is slow. When you truly care about the picture in your mind, you naturally find the discipline to take action. You begin to wake up earlier, learn new skills, and seek opportunities that align with what you've imagined. It is also important to keep your vision alive through constant reinforcement. Revisit it daily. Speak it aloud. Create reminders, a vision board, a written manifesto, even a simple phrase you repeat. This keeps your future front and center, guiding your decisions almost automatically. Over time, your mind starts noticing connections and resources that were invisible before, a phenomenon often described as selective attention. What you consistently focus on expands. Ultimately, vision is the starting point of all achievement because it gives meaning to small steps. A single action, a phone call, a page written, a habit begun, gains power when it is part of a grand design. When you hold a compelling vision, each small move becomes a deliberate stroke on a much larger canvas. Dreaming big begins here, not with luck or circumstance, but with the courage to see a future so clearly that it becomes impossible to ignore. The power of the first step is the quiet force that separates those who only dream from those who actually create. A big vision may inspire you, but without that first action, it remains a pleasant idea, drifting in the clouds of someday. Taking the very first move, no matter how small, is the decisive moment where a dream begins to breathe. It is easy to believe that we must wait for the perfect time, the right resources, or a sudden burst of confidence before starting. Yet progress rarely waits for perfection. The truth is that the first step is not about readiness, it is about willingness. Think of the many times you have imagined a new path, starting a business, writing a book, learning a new skill, only to delay because the mountain looked too high. But the mountain doesn't shrink while you stand at the bottom. It grows taller in your mind. The only way to bring it down to size is to put one foot on the trail. That first motion instantly changes everything. It turns a dream from an abstract hope into a living reality. The moment you act, even in the smallest way, the world begins to rearrange itself around your decision. Often that first step is surprisingly simple. It might mean making a single phone call, opening a blank document, or setting aside 10 minutes to practice. The scale of the action doesn't matter nearly as much as the fact that it happens. By starting, you shift from planning to doing. That shift is profound. It tells your mind and your surroundings that you are serious, and seriousness attracts opportunity. People notice action. Resources start to align. New ideas emerge only after movement begins. There is a psychological transformation in motion itself. Before you begin, doubts are loud. What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? But once you take that first step, doubts lose their authority. Action creates evidence, and evidence builds confidence. You may not feel brave when you start, but bravery is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward while fear follows along. Courage grows after you act, not before. Another reason the first step holds so much power is that it breaks the illusion of complexity. Tasks that feel massive from a distance often become manageable once you engage with them. A writer staring at a blank page may feel overwhelmed by the idea of a 300-page book. But writing the first sentence makes the project tangible. That first sentence leads to a paragraph, which leads to a page. The big goal no longer feels impossible because you have touched it. You are no longer a spectator. Taking the first step also creates momentum that feeds on itself. A small success, even something as simple as finishing a draft outline or setting up a workspace, provides a surge of energy. Momentum is a quiet companion that makes the next step easier. Over time, these small actions compound like interest in a bank account. What began as a hesitant move becomes a steady rhythm, and that rhythm builds a pathway to remarkable achievements. Most importantly, the first step sends a message to yourself. It says, I am capable of beginning. That message reshapes identity. You stop being someone who only wishes and become someone who acts. And once you have proved to yourself that you can start, finishing becomes far more believable. The journey of 1,000 miles, as the proverb reminds us, truly begins with a single step. Not because the step covers much ground, but because it transforms you from a dreamer into a doer. Consistency over intensity is one of the most powerful principles for achieving any meaningful goal. Many people start a new pursuit with a burst of excitement. They dive in with tremendous energy, promising themselves that this time they will work harder than ever. The first few days are filled with long hours, late nights, and a sense of unstoppable momentum. But after the novelty fades, the energy wanes. Life interrupts. Fatigue sets in. Without a system of steady, repeatable effort, even the strongest initial surge eventually burns out. What truly creates success is not the occasional marathon of effort, but the quiet discipline of daily progress. Think of the difference between a sudden downpour and a steady, gentle rain. A downpour might seem powerful, but most of the water runs off before it can soak into the ground. Gentle rain, falling day after day, nourishes the soil deeply and allows roots to grow strong. Your dreams and skills need that same kind of steady nourishment. Intensity can be impressive, but consistency transforms. By showing up regularly, even when motivation feels low, you train your mind and body to perform almost automatically. This is how habits are formed, by repetition, not by rare moments of heroic effort. Consider learning a new language or mastering a musical instrument. Practicing for 10 minutes every single day will outpace the person who practices for 3 hours only once a week. The daily learner builds memory and muscle control incrementally, allowing time for the brain to form lasting connections. The weekly sprinter keeps starting over, forgetting much of what was learned between sessions. Success is not about how much you can do in a single burst. It's about what you can maintain over weeks, months, and years. Consistency also builds trust in yourself. Every time you keep a small promise to work on your goal, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable. This inner confidence is a quiet but powerful force. It means that even on days when inspiration is missing, you still move forward because it is simply what you do. Over time, this steady rhythm becomes part of your identity. You are someone who shows up. That identity is far more valuable than any fleeting burst of motivation. Small, consistent actions have a compounding effect, much like money invested with interest. A single day's effort might feel insignificant, but those efforts accumulate. Each step prepares the way for the next. Each practice session lays another brick in the foundation. The results might not be visible for a while, and that can be discouraging. But just as a seed germinates unseen beneath the soil before breaking through the surface, your consistent effort is quietly creating growth beneath the surface of your life. There is also a mental advantage to steady effort. When you focus on daily progress rather than huge leaps, the goal feels less overwhelming. You don't have to conquer the entire mountain today. You only need to take today's step. This approach reduces anxiety and keeps you engaged for the long haul. Intensity can lead to burnout, but consistency creates a sustainable path. Ultimately, greatness is built from ordinary days stacked one on top of another. The writer who produces a page every morning, the athlete who trains through ordinary practice sessions, the entrepreneur who works quietly on their craft, all are proving that small daily actions eclipse the power of sporadic intensity. When you commit to consistent effort, you give your dream the time and space it needs to grow. Over time, those simple, repeated actions will create results so remarkable they will look from the outside like sudden success. But you will know the truth. It was the quiet, steady rhythm of consistency that made it all possible. Learning by doing is the bridge between theory and mastery, and it is one of the most overlooked truths in personal growth. You can read every book on sailing, memorize the mechanics of wind and water, and watch countless videos about knots and navigation, but until you step onto a boat and feel the pull of the current beneath you, the knowledge stays locked in abstraction. The same is true for every ambitious dream. No amount of preparation can replace the education that comes from action. When you move from planning to doing, the world begins to teach you in real time, and those lessons have a depth and clarity that no classroom can match. Action exposes you to the texture of reality. It reveals small details that you would never consider when everything lives only in your imagination. Think of an aspiring entrepreneur who sketches out a business plan for months. On paper, the strategy might look flawless, but when that first product launches, unexpected challenges, customer reactions, supply issues, shifting market trends appear immediately. These are not failures, they are data. Each obstacle contains information about what works, what doesn't, and where to pivot. That is the kind of insight you can only gain by stepping into the arena. By engaging directly with the work, you develop instincts that can't be taught. You start noticing patterns, how people respond, how systems behave, how your own energy fluctuates during the day. These observations sharpen your judgment. You learn how to make better decisions, not because someone told you the right answer, but because you have felt the consequences of your choices. Over time, these lived experiences accumulate into a form of wisdom that gives you confidence to navigate bigger challenges. Mistakes become powerful teachers when you are active in the process. Many people fear taking the first step because they dread making errors, yet mistakes are often the fastest path to clarity. A musician may hit a wrong note, a writer may stumble through awkward sentences, a public speaker may forget a line. But in each case, the correction that follows is swift and memorable. The mind remembers the lesson etched by experience far more deeply than any advice heard secondhand. Each misstep, when examined thoughtfully, becomes a stepping stone towards skill. Another hidden benefit of learning by doing is the personal growth that occurs along the way. Action tests your resilience, patience, and adaptability. You may discover strengths you didn't know you had, persistence in the face of repeated trials, creativity when resources are limited, or the courage to keep going after a setback. These qualities cannot be downloaded from a book. They are forged in the act of striving. Even small, consistent actions open the door to this kind of education. Writing a single paragraph each day teaches a writer about rhythm and clarity. Recording one short video sharpens a speaker's presence. Planting a small garden reveals the cycle of care and reward. Each effort, however modest, adds a layer of practical understanding. Over time, the gap between what you imagine and what you can actually create narrows until the dream starts to take physical form. When you embrace learning by doing, you stop waiting for perfect conditions or complete certainty. You accept that clarity comes from movement, not endless planning. You recognize that the richest lessons are those you experience firsthand. The moment you act, you invite reality to become your teacher, and that education is more powerful and lasting than anything found in theory alone. Momentum is the invisible force that turns modest beginnings into unstoppable progress. When you take even the smallest action toward a goal, you create movement. That movement generates energy, and energy fuels motivation. It's a cycle that builds upon itself. At first, it might feel like pushing a heavy wheel that barely budges. The early steps often seem insignificant, almost trivial. But once the wheel starts rolling, it gathers speed. What once felt heavy begins to move with surprising ease. This is the essence of momentum, effort that compounds, making every subsequent action a little easier than the last. Think of a person training for a marathon. The first day's jog may last only a few minutes and the body resists. Muscles ache, lungs burn, and doubt whispers that the finish line is impossible. But the second run feels slightly less daunting. By the 10th run, the stride is stronger, the breathing steadier, and the distance covered far greater than before. Each session feeds the next, and progress accelerates. Momentum transforms what once seemed extraordinary into something natural. It's not about sudden leaps, but steady, cumulative motion that reshapes both body and mind. Momentum also nurtures confidence. Every completed task, no matter how small, sends a powerful signal to your brain. I can do this. That signal builds belief. Belief fuels action. Action builds more belief. This feedback loop strengthens your commitment and erodes fear. Where hesitation once lived, confidence takes root. Soon, what used to require immense willpower becomes second nature. Writing a single page a day evolves into a finished book. Saving a small amount each week grows into a robust financial cushion. The simple act of starting and keeping at it creates a rhythm that carries you forward. An important truth about momentum is that it thrives on consistency, not perfection. Missing a single day or making a mistake isn't fatal, but stopping entirely can break the flow. Imagine pedaling a bicycle uphill. If you keep a steady pace, the climb remains manageable. But if you stop, starting again feels twice as hard. The same principle applies to any pursuit. Consistency keeps the gears turning smoothly. Even on low-energy days, a small effort, a paragraph written, a 10-minute workout, a brief study session, maintains your forward motion and prevents the heavy restart. Momentum also changes how others perceive you and how opportunities come your way. People are drawn to visible progress. A friend notices your dedication and offers support. A mentor sees your effort and provides guidance. Unexpected doors open when others witness your steady advancement. Success in many ways attracts more success. Opportunities often appear to those already moving because movement signals seriousness and reliability. It tells the world you are invested, that you mean to see your vision through. The beauty of momentum is that it doesn't require extraordinary talent to begin. It requires a single step and the resolve to take another. Over time, the accumulation of small, consistent actions becomes a powerful force, one that feels almost self-propelling. The work that once felt overwhelming becomes part of your identity. You no longer ask whether you can keep going. You simply do. That is the quiet magic of momentum. It starts as discipline and ends as natural flow, carrying you toward goals that once seemed distant and impossible. Adaptability is the hidden strength behind every lasting achievement. When you set out to reach a big dream, the path ahead is never a straight highway. It twists, it forks, and it surprises you with unexpected turns. Many people begin with a detailed plan and believe that sticking to it with absolute rigidity will guarantee success. But real life is not a blueprint you can follow without change. Conditions shift, opportunities appear where you least expect them, and obstacles arise that you could never have predicted. Those who reach their goals are not necessarily the ones who drew the best map in advance. They are the ones who adjust with skill and courage when the landscape changes. Think of a sailor navigating a vast ocean. The destination is clear, but the wind and currents are beyond control. A skilled sailor does not curse the weather or abandon the journey at the first sign of rough water. Instead, they adjust the sails, change course slightly, and use the forces around them to keep moving forward. In the same way, pursuing a dream requires constant small corrections. You might discover that a method you believed would work is slow or ineffective. A door you expected to open might remain shut, while another door you never noticed before suddenly swings wide. Being willing to revise your approach is not weakness, it is wisdom. Adaptability also protects you from discouragement. When you insist on a single rigid strategy, every obstacle feels like a personal failure. But when you treat challenges as feedback rather than defeat, each obstacle becomes a teacher. Maybe a project needs a different timeline. Maybe a skill you thought was optional turns out to be essential. Each discovery refines your path and makes the eventual victory more solid. The process of adjusting is itself an education, teaching you resilience, creativity, and resourcefulness that no classroom can fully provide. It is important to remember that adaptation does not mean drifting without direction. Your dream remains the guiding star. What changes is the way you move toward it. You hold the vision firmly while keeping your methods flexible. Imagine climbing a mountain where a rock slide blocks the trail. The summit is still your goal, but you might need to take a longer route, find a new foothold, or even wait out a storm. None of these choices mean you have given up. They mean you are smart enough to find a safer, more effective way to keep ascending. Adaptability also allows you to seize unexpected opportunities. Sometimes life offers chances that were never part of your original plan, but that can accelerate your growth or deepen your experience. If you are too focused on a single narrow path, you might overlook these gifts. A conversation with a stranger, a new technology, or a sudden shift in the market can open possibilities you never imagined. By staying alert and willing to pivot, you can turn these surprises into stepping stones toward your bigger dream. In the end, the ability to adapt is what transforms a dream from a fragile idea into a living reality. It teaches you to listen, to learn, and to move with the changing rhythms of life. The dream stays constant, but you evolve as you pursue it, becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable than when you began. Adapt and adjust, and every challenge becomes not a wall but a bridge leading you closer to the future you have imagined. Patience is often misunderstood as passive waiting, but in truth it is an active, disciplined strength that separates those who reach their dreams from those who quit halfway. When you set out to achieve something meaningful, you will quickly discover that progress rarely follows a straight, predictable path. The world does not move on your personal timetable. Skills take time to develop, opportunities appear at their own pace, and the natural rhythm of growth cannot be forced. Patience is the quality that keeps you grounded when the results you desire are still hidden beneath the surface. Think of how nature works. A seed does not become a tree overnight, no matter how much sunlight or water you give it. There is an invisible period of preparation, a quiet unfolding beneath the soil where roots spread and strength gathers. In the same way, your efforts often require a hidden season before they show visible success. This is not wasted time. It is the period when you learn, adjust, and build the resilience that will carry you forward. Without that unseen growth, the outward results would collapse the moment they appear. Impatience, on the other hand, can sabotage even the most brilliant ideas. When you constantly demand instant results, you create frustration and tension that cloud judgment. You may start cutting corners, abandoning plans, or chasing quick fixes that lead nowhere. The truth is, meaningful achievement is a marathon, not a sprint. Every shortcut carries a hidden cost. Patience acts as a shield against these impulses, reminding you to stay focused on the process instead of obsessing over the clock. Patience also sharpens your decision-making. When you give yourself the grace to move steadily, you see opportunities more clearly and respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. You notice details others overlook. You recognize the small improvements that signal real progress. This steady observation allows you to adapt when necessary without losing sight of the bigger picture. Far from being idle, patience demands continuous attention and deliberate action. There is also a mental strength that grows when you embrace patience. Each day you remain committed, you prove to yourself that your dream is worth the wait. You build confidence in your ability to endure challenges. This inner fortitude becomes a quiet power, allowing you to keep moving when others are discouraged. Over time, the consistency that patience makes possible becomes your greatest advantage. Competitors may burn out or give up, but your steady effort keeps you on the path. Patience does not mean doing nothing. It means doing the small, right things every day and trusting the process. It means showing up, practicing, refining, and persisting even when there is no immediate applause. It means believing that your dedication will eventually create the outcome you seek even if you cannot see it yet. The person who masters this art develops a calm determination that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks. When you commit to your dream, expect the journey to test your endurance. There will be moments of doubt, times when progress feels painfully slow, but those who succeed are not the ones who rush. They are the ones who refuse to quit. Patience is the quiet companion of greatness. It transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary achievement by allowing growth to unfold in its own perfect time. Celebrating milestones is far more than a simple pause for applause. It is a deliberate act of reinforcing growth, strengthening motivation, and keeping the journey alive with purpose. When you acknowledge each small victory, you are telling yourself that the effort you invest matters and that progress, however incremental, is worth honoring. In a world obsessed with instant results and dramatic transformations, the quiet art of recognizing small achievements can seem almost insignificant, yet it is precisely this recognition that fuels long-term success. Every milestone, no matter how modest, carries a story of persistence. It may be the first week you stick to a new habit, the first customer who believes in your idea, or the first time you speak confidently about your goal. These moments are proof that the dream is moving from imagination into reality. By pausing to celebrate them, you anchor the experience in your memory. This creates a positive association with the work you are doing, which in turn builds a natural desire to keep going. It's a psychological feedback loop. Accomplishment breeds pride, pride breeds motivation, and motivation drives the next action. Celebration doesn't have to mean extravagant parties or expensive rewards. It can be as simple as taking a quiet walk and reflecting on the distance you have covered. It might be sharing the moment with a close friend, or writing a note to yourself about what this step means. The essence of celebration is acknowledgement. It says, I see the progress, I honor it, I am not overlooking the small victories in pursuit of the bigger prize. When you skip this step, you risk feeling as if you are always chasing something far away, never satisfied, never fulfilled. Over time, that can lead to burnout or a sense of futility, even if you are technically moving forward. There is also an educational element hidden in these celebrations. Each milestone offers a natural point of reflection. You can ask yourself what worked, what surprised you, and what you would do differently. This reflection transforms the milestone into a lesson. The small success becomes both a reward and a teacher, helping you refine your strategy for the next phase. Without taking the time to pause and celebrate, you might rush past valuable insights that could save you effort later. Moreover, celebrating milestones keeps your larger dream emotionally alive. Big goals often take months or years to reach, and the human mind thrives on shorter feedback cycles. If you only allow yourself to feel accomplishment when you achieve the ultimate objective, you will spend most of the journey feeling incomplete. Small celebrations break the distance into manageable segments, each with its own meaning and satisfaction. They remind you that you are already succeeding in the present moment, not just in some distant future. Think of it as watering a plant. A seed cannot survive on one grand flood of water at the end of the season. It needs consistent nourishment along the way. Your motivation is the same. Each celebration is a drop of water, keeping your spirit nourished so you can continue to grow. It reinforces the truth that greatness is not a sudden leap, but a series of steps, each deserving of recognition. By honoring your progress as it unfolds, you create a journey that is not only successful, but also deeply fulfilling, where every step is both a victory and a lesson, guiding you toward the dream that started it all.